Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today, January 31st, for meditation together. I'm adjusting my seat to be just right, and you can do the same. Today, thinking of yet another uh, aphorism from yoga's timeless wisdom that we are more in harmony with the universe when we don't take what is not ours. And um, along those lines, that makes me think of if we feel complete in ourselves, if we feel complete with all that we have right at this moment, that we don't, we are less likely to reach out to take what is not ours, um, and to crave that. So love is all you need. All you need is love to take us into our meditative state. I will share Billy Collins' poem, Aimless Love. And so hear these words, and I love to, as actually my friend John Brame, whose collection I'm reading from, The Poetry of Impermanence, Mindfulness, and Joy. He, I forgot what I was going to say. In any case, he's got this lovely collection. Oh, yes. And a new book out that's called The Dharma of Poetry. And I just picked it up. And so he uses poetry. He is a poet himself, but he uses others' poetry and poetry in general as his practice. And as the title of his new book, The Dharma of Poetry, implies, we can use poetry both to help us come into the state where we're more conscious of ourself and our own true self, and how that self can serve and enjoy the world. This is one of my favorite poems, Aimless Love. This morning, as I walked along the lake shore, I fell in love with a wren, and later in the day with a mouse. The cat had dropped under the dining room table. In the shadows of an autumn evening, I fell for a seamstress, still at her machine in the tailor's window, and later for a bowl of broth, steam rising like smoke from a naval battle. This is the best kind of love, I thought, without recompense, without gifts or unkind words, without suspicion or silence on the phone. The love of the chestnut, the jazz cap, and one hand on the wheel. No lust, no slam of the door. The love of the miniature orange tree, the clean white shirt, the hot evening shower, the highway that cuts across Florida. No waiting, no huffiness or rancor, just a twinge now and then for the wren who had built her nest on a low branch overhanging the water, and for the dead mouse, still dressed in its light brown suit. But my heart is always propped up in a field on its tripod, ready for the next arrow. After I carried the mouse by the tail to a pile of leaves in the woods, I found myself standing at the bathroom sink, gazing down affectionately at the soap. So patient and soluble, so at home in its pale green soap dish. I could feel myself falling again as I felt its turning in my wet hands and caught the scent of lavender and stone. Such a feeling of fullness from each of those lovely descriptions. And so maybe take a moment as you settle before I start my timer for our 12 minutes that you set up your seat comfortably, but also maybe look around you or feel with your eyes closed and sense your own aimless love, your own heart positioned on a tripod, waiting for the next arrow to receive that fullness that's here every moment. And then let's sit together. The bell. The bell and the bow. Signifying the specialness of our practice, receiving the bell and bowing to our seat, to ourself, to each other, to this practice. These first moments, you might ensure that your seat is truly comfortable for yourself, that you receive the ground, the supportive ground, as the bones and forms of our body through gravity meet ground. It's beautiful to savor the moments of what we might say is positive. If you feel a fullness of arrival, if you feel a calmness of our just coming together, a savoring as a distinct from clutching and hanging on to. And similarly, we can meet each sensation, each experience that comes to our consciousness as we sit still, assisting ourselves with any tools and techniques, practices, touching into ground, sound, breath, as I often lead us through, or simply to attending to the form of sitting and the feel of breathing. All of this to land us to simply a place of quiet, spacious, welcoming. No effort required. And yet, if a feel of effort, wrestling, difficulty in any way arises, we might just say hello. Say hello to that which we might want to be pushing away. Give it a seat here. Doesn't have to sit close by, but it can. It might sit somewhere in your body. It might sit just next to you. Or you might imagine just placing it on a box in a box on the other side of the room or even outside your house. As more and more, whatever arises, and we may notice how we greet it, what we do with it, how we might, the mind might start wrapping itself around it. We can remind ourselves as we practice and we remember more easily that we can step away, that we can just say hello and say, not now, this is what matters to me now, and come back to simply sink into the sense of being. This receptive spaciousness and welcoming of being that can receive all that is here for us, with us at this moment, such as the snores of my little dog, such as the effort I'm feeling in my middle back. When we become more and more familiar with that sense of ourself that is this wide open, relaxed, receptive, dare I say, caring presence. We can notice when we're feeling that sense of completeness. Again, savor. The savoring helps us to remember the possibility. We can notice the fragments, which by definition imply the wholeness. What I'm noticing is oftentimes the nagging, needy fragment, all it really needs is a dose of full attention, that gaze, that ear, that to be fully listened to express itself. And then it is clear how it sometimes it dissolves, or sometimes it's clear in how what's next needed. It points me to what's being asked of me next. So, bringing our practice to an end, do you notice when I hear the bells, maybe of habit, though I know there's a completion of this practice coming? My body takes a deeper breath. Maybe you have a similar reflex. And so, bringing our palms together at the heart and bowing, perhaps with the feelings of respect, gratitude, humility. You add what's there for you or define that. So thank you for joining me. I encourage you to notice where you feel completeness. Sometimes we feel completeness in can feel it in the fragments, just as the poem describes. And Even in things like maybe finding a little brown mouse dead in its suit in your house is not would throw you into a frenzy. So that's a completion, right? That's a completion of fullness. And we can find that for ourselves over and over. And then the challenges become, I'm still learning this, but they become more something that is with us and for us and opportunities to come into our fullness. Thanks for joining me today. Enjoy your day. If you're here in Northern Virginia, enjoy the snow or on much of the East Coast, Northeast Coast. And I'll see you next week. Ciao, ciao.